Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new weekend out there so far. We got a lot to cover in this morning's video, and the first thing we'll discuss is this pattern change upcoming for next week. And it's not really the shift in the temperatures that I'm interested in. It's the storm system associated with this pattern change that really has my attention. Yes, we are talking about the S word, snow, even outside of those favorite areas like the Great Lakes region, of course with the lake effect snow, and the mountainous regions of the Appalachian Mountains. Even areas outside of those regions could get snow with this setup. Could be a wild week of weather, especially as we get into the later portion of next week into next weekend. So we're going to speak heavily on that. We're going to show you, obviously, a fan favorite, which is the Snowfall maps. We're going to compare all model guidance with that, and we got you covered. Definitely utilize those timestamps. Jump ahead to certain portions of the video you want to watch. They're there to help you guys out. No update on the tropics. Listen, Tropical Storm Sarah continues to bring a lot of rain to Central America, but we're kind of shifting gears away from that now. As hurricane season, slowly draws to an end there. So not going to speak much on that, but we will cover what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Saturday, like we always do in these morning videos. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Listen, it doesn't just give me an opportunity to pray over it. It gives many others an opportunity to pray over it also. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. Let's make sure this is going to work with us, and it is. So we're going to start off the good old-fashioned way, looking at the water vapor loop, and there's a reason I'm doing this, and for people who's been tuning in for a while, you probably remember when I used to show this at the beginning of every video in the morning videos, but we're back at it this morning, and I'm showing you this because it's going to kind of ooze into what happens with our pattern next week, right? So I'm going to draw a little bit on this map. Hopefully I can make it make sense for you folks. It can get very confusing, and trust me, I'm still trying to find the best ways to explain it to you guys, the audience. But so the whiter colors on your screen, that indicates more moisture in the atmosphere most of the time. The kind of blacker, grayer colors on your screen, like over here, that's drier air, okay? Whiter colors, more moist air. So if you notice, you're getting this dip right here, and then it kind of goes like that, and it's kind of stretches across the southwest. You got this southwesterly flow, and then it kind of goes like this. And then if you look really closely, you're kind of having a dip like that. And then you got this spinning thing right here, which is our old cutoff low that kind of brought us some nasty weather across the eastern U.S. Late last work week. So this is what's going on right now. You can see the flow pretty well. Dips down here, comes back up right here. This is a ridge. This is a trough. A ridge, high pressure, a trough, low pressure. So you can see the pattern pretty well. A lot of moisture kind of screaming across areas in the middle of the country. So I want you to look at that and then compare it to, kind of visualize this and then compare it to this, okay? This is the current 500 millibar chart, okay? Upper pattern, right? Blue is the trough. The warmer colors, the orange, red, salmon color, whatever you want to call it, is the ridge. And it makes sense. You're getting a dip in the jet stream right here. You're getting a raising of the jet stream right here, which is the ridge, and then it dips down right here. And if you go back and look at this, it makes sense. Okay, this is current conditions, and this is what the GFS is saying is current conditions, which makes sense. So now that we got that established, right, let's continue, and we're just going to look at the GFS. I know we compared the GFS with the Euro in yesterday morning's video. Just going to look at the GFS here. Okay, watch as we move this throughout the weekend. So we're going to move this all the way into tomorrow evening. All of a sudden, this trough kind of gets cut off, and we have this little cut off piece of energy that's over sections of northern Mexico and just the Four Corners region. The ridge is kind of progressing over the eastern U.S. We got this cut off area of energy right here. Not a big storyline. Now, this area right here could become a big storyline. You see this darker blue shaded color here, and then you got this kind of secondary darker blue shaded color here. In general, this is just lower pressure, except this is lower pressure compared to maybe this lower pressure, and then this is lower pressure. So you got two secondary areas, two different areas of lower central pressure, okay? Which means we probably have more energy, whether that's rain, snow, something in between. That's what I mean when I say energy, Okay, rain obviously could bring storms. It can mean severe weather. It could just mean snow, good old-fashioned rain. So we got a storm system right here. Watch as this kind of ejects across the country. This will bring a lot of rain across the central U.S. Do we get some sort of snow? We potentially could. Okay, but this system ejects across the country, and then it kind of plows right into this ridging right here, this high pressure. Okay, that storm system says goodbye to us. It's done after that. After that occurs, we had this digging of the jet right here. So this big area of blue begins to dig down over the central U.S. The bluer colors, lower pressure, unsettled weather brings cooler conditions, sometimes downright cold conditions, depending on the time of the year, which we're obviously getting deeper in the cold season now. So this is definitely going to bring below average temperatures. This is a big time upper trough, upper low, whatever you want to call it. And you could really call this just one giant cutoff low. But you can call it a trough of low pressure. You can call it an upper low, upper cutoff low, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, it's just lower pressure, okay, which brings cooler temperatures and unsettled weather. So at this point, this thing really gets going, okay? This is next Thursday morning. You can really say this coming Thursday morning now. You got this huge area of energy in the blue situated over basically the eastern U.S., okay? And at the same time, we have this, what basically is a dip in the jet stream going just like that, okay? But the flow goes around this low pressure, just like that, just like it does in the tropics. When we're talking about the steering of low pressure, when we're breaking down something, in hurricane season, a hurricane, whatever it may be, it's the same thing here over land. I mean, over low pressure, it spins cyclonically. So that's what's going on. And we have pieces of energy in this trough, in this lower pressure. So energy could be here, it could be here. And what it looks like is going to happen is we're going to have a dominant piece of energy situated with this actual upper low, which will be here. Okay. Now, where is the best cold air aloft? That'll be centered directly under the lowest pressure of this upper low. Okay, this will be where your best cold air aloft will be. Okay, so this thing isn't going to have a real true connection to Arctic air from, I would say, the north. Doesn't have a real true connection. And if we take a broader look at this here, and you'll see what I mean. Let's go here. There's not really a true connection to the Arctic as far as cold air. We don't have the blue colors extending all the way down here. It can get little kind of injections of cold air, okay? But not a true source of, I would say, Arctic air, okay? But still a favorable pattern. Now, this trough could really amplify, okay? Let's kind of go back to the U.S. look here. This trough can really expand, grow into a full-fledged upper trough, and we're just basically going to have pieces of energy kind of pivoting down here like this. This could, do a transfer off the coastline, develop into an all-out coastal low right into here, and just pieces of energy are kind of pivoting down the backside of this trough. These pieces of energy, if there's enough cold air involved, can certainly bring some snow. So at the end of the day, this big blue blob over the eastern U.S. is going to bring a lot of crazy weather, most likely, across the eastern U.S. It's a giant cutoff low or upper trough, whatever you want to call it. This hangs around for a while, and it's probably going to do some weird stuff over the eastern U.S. Now, another way to look at this is energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere. There's our first push of energy, and then here comes our upper trough. See this huge area of energy in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. Where you see these vibrant colors at the surface, that's most likely precipitation, whether that's rain or snow, and especially right here. When you have energy like this with cold air around, you're probably going to get some wacky weather as far as winter weather. Now, dynamics really have to kick in with this, and that's the key word, dynamic, because it's not going to have a ton of cold air to work with. So what does this mean at the surface? Let's start off in the central U.S. Okay. Really, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on the central U.S., but really it's what we look for here is just a pretty much one full-fledged storm system over the central U.S. And here it is, mainly a rainstorm. This is going to Probably bring some severe weather into Sunday into Monday. Big rainstorm across the middle of the country. We're getting to Sunday evening. We're getting to Tuesday morning. We could start to switch this rain to snow in the upper Midwest, the plains. It's very possible. Just something to watch, especially the closer you get to the U.S.-Canadian border. And then the cold air filters in behind it, and here comes the low. Just like we just talked about, here comes this upper low developing. Precipitation starts to get amped up here, and rain starts to switch to snow because the dynamics kick in. Cold air aloft begins to move in, rain switches to snow in Illinois, and this is getting into next Wednesday afternoon. It starts to get weird right here, and we'll speak more on this here in a second, okay, when we switch it to the eastern U.S. kind of frame here. But that is the GFS over the middle of the country, okay? Now what about, say, the Euro? Okay, Euro, same thing. Progression of a storm system over the middle of the country. Looks like a pretty big storm system also. It's got that comma head look to it. This could bring some severe weather across the south central U.S. The latest Euro is just one big rainstorm across the middle of the country. Does eventually switch it to snow in North Dakota. And then right behind it, here it is. Now it does develop this kind of upper low as far as precipitation making it to the surface a little bit later. But look at this little snow breaking out across the upper Midwest. That's new. And then we got this energy associated immediately kind of up under the best, I would say, cold air aloft, kind of developing right here. It gets very weird. I would say if there's any weather that is the most difficult kind of thing to explain in the weather world, it's these upper lows, troughs, and breaking it down. It's tough. It's tough to break it down because it's tough to understand. But speaking of the eastern U.S., now this is going to be, this is going to trip y'all out a little bit, especially if you live in the Ohio Valley and states surrounding it. Okay, here's what's left over of Sarah that could bring some tropical moisture into Florida, areas of the southeast. Okay, we start to get into Wednesday. This is when the weather gets weird across the Midwest. Rain starts to switch to snow in Illinois. It starts to switch to snow across areas of Indiana. I mean, if the GFS is correct, most of Indiana, it's snowing in the middle of the night next Wednesday into Thursday morning. And then the cold air moves in. And I know you're probably wondering, where is the cold air exactly? Well, that 540 line, that's cold air aloft. So once you see that 540 line move in, that doesn't necessarily mean whatever falls in the sky is going to be snow, but it means that you have a more favorable upper atmosphere that supports winter weather. We'll just leave it at that for now. But we get into next Thursday morning, folks, the 21st, and you got a full-fledged snowstorm ongoing across areas of Indiana, Ohio. This is not a forecast, guys. And look at that 981 low here. And we keep this going. And this energy is right up under a lot of cold air aloft. At the surface, it's probably only in the 30s. Heck, maybe in the low 40s. But this is next Thursday evening. Look at this. Moderate to heavy snow across Ohio, West Virginia, northern Kentucky, western PA. And all of a sudden, West Virginia starts getting slammed with just this steady northwest flow. And then it starts to snow as far south as the Smokies. Okay, this is like next Friday. I'll be in the Smokies. It's starting to get snow flurries all the way down to northeast Tennessee. And look at it just snows nonstop for several days straight in West Virginia. Rain starts to switch to snow in the interior New England area. We start to maybe get some lake enhancement moisture that kind of feeds into some colder air across western New York, western PA. It's still snowing in West Virginia Sunday morning. And finally it tapers off. And we could have a lot of moisture just lingering around because we have a blocking pattern to the north that kind of keeps this energy kind of over the northeast areas of the Atlantic, or northwest areas of the Atlantic. Okay, so pretty wild stuff. I mean, check that out. Just snow on top of snow. But you look at, say, for example, the Euro model. Let's go and look at this so we can go further out. So we'll look at the one from overnight. Here it is, same thing. Dynamics kick in. I know you're wondering, why is it raining up here north? Why is it raining in lower Michigan and the UP of Michigan when it's snowing in Ohio, Indiana? It's because you have cold air aloft. You have more dynamics. The temperature could be 35 up here and raining. It could be 35 down here and snowing because you have colder air about say 4 to 6, 7, 8,000 feet above your head. Well, if you kind of move up here, you have warmer air. That makes all the difference. A lot of people just think, they want to focus on the temperature at the surface. But really, a lot of your focus should go on the temperatures aloft. When I say aloft, the upper levels of the atmosphere. So you keep this moving, folks. I mean, this is next Thursday morning. It's snowing like crazy in areas of Ohio. This energy, come on, move for me. This energy begins to shift all the way down to the central and southern Alps. This is next Thursday evening. It starts to snow even in the higher elevations of the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. Look at the northern Cumberland Plateau getting a little bit of snow. It's snowing in the higher elevations of Virginia, West Virginia, rain mixing with snow in Ohio. Certainly the Euro is not as potent, I would say, in Ohio and the Ohio Valley as is the GFS. But you keep going, not near as much cold air associated with the Euro than it is with the GFS. Okay? And looking at, say, the Canadian model from overnight, Canadian, which does have a bit of a cold bias, I would say. But the Canadian, a lot more cold air working with this. Okay, drops that 540 line much further south. By the time we're getting into Thursday morning, it's snowing as far south as the Cumberland Plateau. It's cold enough for snow for just about everybody in Kentucky, the Ohio Valley areas in the Midwest. Thursday morning, snowing like crazy. Heavy snow begins to fall in PA. You start to get very heavy snow in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, all the way down to the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina. And this is a hefty event for the Central Alps of like West Virginia. And it continues, folks. Goes all the way into throughout the weekend. And then we have this secondary push. This is what you watch for. If the trough hangs around, you'll have energy that continues to come down. Kind of what we call a maximum vort, if you will. Where you have that maximum vorticity, you'll have more precipitation that kind of comes to the surface. The secondary area comes down and snows even more. In fact, the snow breaks out and starts snowing outside the mountains of Virginia and North Carolina. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't. But man, I would watch this pattern because I really think the models could be underdoing the blocking to the north, which could anchor that trough into place for longer. Now, speaking of snowfall accumulations, this is when your eyes are going to get big if you live in these states I've been talking about. This is not a forecast, folks. Okay, this is not a forecast. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. Let me get a sip of my coffee. Don't want to be a Debbie Downer here. But just remember, this is not a forecast. But, you never know when you're going to have a historic storm. The 1950, look it up. 1950, and it's around this time coming up too. 1950 winter storm across the Ohio Valley could be an analog for this. It could. But the GFS between now and next Sunday morning, and you could actually go further out. I mean, you can go to next Monday morning. It dumps let's just call it several inches of snow across areas in the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, into the mountains of West Virginia, and gets snow all the way down to the Smokies. Okay? What about the Euro? Even the Euro, which is more of a conservative model normally, even dumps this area of snow right over Indiana, Ohio, several inches of snow. I know a lot of people are thinking, Mitch, can you get a little bit closer for us? Well, let's not focus on getting so hyper-focused on zoomed-in areas yet. Let's just look at the broad picture, larger, further out. Euro, even dumps a few inches of snow in the Smokies, Rome Mountain. Even put snow into Boone. But the heaviest snow, obviously, in the highlands of West Virginia, all the way into the Allegheny Mountains. A little bit of snow in interior New England. Okay. All right. Now, the Canadian model dumps a historic storm across the central and southern Alps and Ohio Valley. But listen, if you compare all this one, and this one, every single one of them dumps a lot of snow on top of Ohio and Indiana. And, the Canadian just goes crazy in western PA. Okay, it's a lot of snow. Now, I don't feel as convicted not to show you zoomed in areas of the blend of all models because I think the blend of all models does great with just kind of keeping things. It literally blends all the model guides together, folks. And this is between now and next Sunday evening. Okay, it wants to dump several inches of snow on the Smokies. It wants to pretty much drop snow on the Tennessee-North Carolina border in the highest elevations. It wants to drop a few inches of snow in western Virginia. Okay, the highlands of West Virginia. This could potentially be a big storm for you guys. Potentially. Okay. Now, what about my friends here in the Ohio Valley? Okay, let's just go to Ohio right here. Yeah, I mean, and let's look at this. I think there's a better vantage point here. Yeah. So Midwest Ohio Valley, I mean, it's wanting to dump an inch or so of snow on you guys. Now, this isn't a forecast, but this is kind of the more reasonable scenario based off literally a blend of all model guidance, which is what this is. So it does show even accumulating snow in northern Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and of course, you kind of look at, let's look at PA here. Yeah, I mean, look at this, folks. Few inches of snow, even has a little bit of snow in Pittsburgh. Yeah, this is definitely something to watch, and I will throw a bone for my folks here in New England also. And not a huge signal up here, but we'll kind of go all the way about 10 days out, and does show a little bit of mountain snow. Nothing too crazy. So, yeah, pretty wild stuff. And, you know, one thing I haven't talked about is the winds with this. With such an aggressive, I would say, dip in the jet stream like this with energy associated with it, you're gonna have a lot of winds, 30, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gust. I'm probably going to have a hard time getting to Gatlinburg at the end of next week. I imagine they're going to shut down 441, not only for snow, but for winds. So, yeah, going to be a challenge getting there, but we'll get there. But, yeah, you know, a lot of people have mentioned in the comments, Mitch, you know, you got to think about the people in the mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, etc., with the snow. And yeah, I do. And I've already said this a couple times. You can't stop winter from coming, guys. It's going to come. Do I like actively pray for snow? I don't. I kind of, and some people agree or disagree with this. I kind of save my prayers for more important things. You know, but I do love snow. I hope for snow. And of course, I don't think I'll ever stop hoping for snow. But you know, I know I'm going to see a lot of these comments a lot regarding. I think I've already seen on social media, people getting annoyed that I'm rooting for snow for people who live in the mountains of North Carolina and stuff like that, you know, because people are still without power, living in tents and stuff like that. What's wild is it seems like the people that comment that the most are people that don't even live in the mountains. I've actually had a lot of people, because I have a lot of followers and I follow a lot of people in the mountains of North Carolina that actually would love to see snow. So I get it, I understand, and I am mindful of it, but please don't get offended because I love snow. I think, you know, I just do. But with all that being said, this could be a heavy wind maker. Now, I've seen some words like blizzard be tossed around. I don't think we're going to see anything like that, but yeah. So as far as temperatures, you know, what is this going to bring? Well, between the 21st and the 25th, below average temperatures, and the below average temperatures will actually settle in before the 21st. For the South Central U.S. But, you know, once upon a time, we thought this was going to bring some really, really cold temperatures. I no longer think that's going to happen. I think this will bring a period of below average temperatures. But like I said, I think the main focus is the storm system associated with it. And, you know, you look at the temperatures on GFS Ensemble compared to average, and, you know, you do start to get the below average temperatures that settle in this coming Thursday. And even into Friday, you know, into the weekend, next weekend, below average temperatures across areas of the southeastern U.S. and the eastern U.S. And this kind of hangs around all the way into the beginning portion of Thanksgiving week. But I think it's a real fleeting pattern as far as below average temperatures. And I honestly just don't think that's a big storyline. In fact, you know, once upon a time, I thought that this probably would have brought widespread freezes across areas of even like the deep south. I don't know if this is going to do it. I don't. So we'll have to see. That could change. I think it's going to bring our coldest air of the season for a lot of people. But as far as Arctic air, no, I don't think that. Don't let anybody fool you with that. A lot of people like to use the word Arctic. I try to save that word for something that truly is Arctic, and I don't think this will be Arctic air by any means. But as far as what's happening today, we do have some snow falling across areas of Montana. I think this will start to ooze into areas of western North Dakota over the next several hours. Another storm system moving into the Pacific Northwest, and still got this spinning low up here in Atlantic Canada. Not doing a whole lot, but it's going to be a beautiful day across a good chunk of the country. Watches, warnings, and advisories. The red flag warnings continue to expand and broaden across southern New England and areas of just the I-95 corridor up here. We really need a rain storm up here or something to really break this drought, and I think we'll get it soon. Winter weather alerts across the northern Rockies, high wind warnings and watches, winter storm watches, winter storm warnings in the pink. A lot of snow on the way for the Sierra Nevada. I meant for the Cascades. But excessive rainfall outlook and nothing to really show for it. But as far as thunderstorms today, could have this little area right here. Well, it's not a little area, pretty big area. But you could have a risk of some thunderstorms if you live in this green area. But it's not a big deal today. Southeast, we're going to zoom through this quick. There's nothing really to talk about. Maybe some showers across Florida. Thank y'all. Good for one sneeze once a month. But it's pretty quiet weather across the Southeast today. It really is. High pressure dominating. Beautiful football weather. I'm a big football guy. Northeast, beautiful weather also. Now we'll get a little bit of northerly flow into Maine. Maybe that'll bring a cold rain shower or two. But quiet weather up here. We need some weather, though. Nothing crazy, but we need definitely a good rainstorm across areas of the Northeast. But the South Central U.S., same story. I mean, just quiet weather. We start to get an increase in moisture overnight, and then we'll wake up to some rain showers in Southwest Texas, Eastern Texas, and maybe even the panhandle of maybe you'll get some snow. I do wonder, if you're living in this area right here, Colorado, New Mexico, do y'all still have any kind of snow on the ground? That'll be interesting to know. Definitely let me know. The north central U.S., quiet weather. Now we'll start to get some snow falling in western North Dakota. This will add up to a few inches, and then we'll get some, at least we'll get a risk of some thunderstorms developing across the Midwest today. But here's this area of showers developing really after midnight across Wisconsin, the UP, and Michigan. We have just not had any kind of significant snow yet across this area of the country. Weird noise outside my room. But the western U.S., we'll have some snow drifting around, some snow showers across the central Rockies. Then a bigger storm moves in later today across the Pacific Northwest. A lower elevation rain, higher elevation snow will definitely add up. Snow levels still not considerably low or anything like that, but definitely a big system in the Pacific Northwest. And snowfall from this little system right here, a couple inches could add up in far northwest North Dakota, northeast Montana. A few inches of wet snow, very possible. And then across the Rockies, this is what it's looking like. Let's just go throughout the rest of the weekend. A lot of snow could add up in the Rockies, northern Rockies, and then the Pacific Northwest and the Cascades. It's definitely starting to add up now. The snow levels are lower, just not super low, but they're definitely lower for sure. And then temperatures is what we're looking at. Definitely a cold, I would say a chilly day across the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes region, the Northeast. Nothing too crazy, but even somewhat of a nip in the air down here in the Southeast. Typical mid-November stuff. Deep South, a beautiful day. And then across the western U.S., definitely colder temperatures for sure. So you can actually tell where that snow's still on the ground in this area where we still have this kind of pocket of colder air. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and I'll talk to you again soon.